This is Jamie Miller. You're watching the Moneyball channel. Keep tuning in.
Boom, boom. My next guest is president of New York State Golf Association. He's got quite a resume, amateur golfing. I mean, many of you in Western New York know this guy, know the name, know his skill. We'll get into his family a little bit. But what's up, Jamie Miller, man? How are you? Good to have you on.
Thanks for having me. No, I'm excited to do this. It's fun.
My pleasure, man. It really is. I'm going to start with a banger. Okay. We're going to go get down to some serious business here. What is the more annoying golf phrase? Get in the hole or that'll play?
It's got to be get in the hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't hear that'll play that much. Get in the hole. There's nothing worse than somebody says that when you hit a putt and it lips out. And you got to just say, keep your mouth off my balls. Like, don't you do that.
Saying, keep your mouth off my balls?
Yeah, it's actually funny. I was with my mom playing with a couple buddies last Friday, and a guy said that, like, get in the hole or, like, get in it. And it lipped out. And my mom goes, don't you ever do that to him. He will ream you out.
He will tear you apart. Look at this.
Yeah,
this teddy bear can get angry.
Yeah. Oh, he's a grizzly bear. He looks cuddly, but don't poke the bear. Don't poke the bear.
Was it Happy Gilmore? I think, is that what did it to us? Happy Gilmore was the get in the hole, right?
Yeah, I think it was all that.
What about the new Happy Gilmore coming out though this week? I think, man, I'm stoked.
I think it's Friday, right?
Listen, yeah. I am more excited for the Happy. I love Sandler, dude.
I don't know, man. I think it's gonna be all right. Like, I don't know. They have a lot of players coming on it, which I think could actually make it worse, right? Versus funny. Like they're doing a lot of cameos.
And stuff. I know, like they just
yeah.
I feel like Sandler was so creative and such a genius when he had his crew, and that's what made him Sandler, right?
100%. Like all those early movies was the same 10 guys.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yep. The only hope is that it's like Top Gun Maverick, where it's still entertaining enough. It's really good. Yeah, that was probably one of the better sequels from that long of a time, right? I mean, that's the other issue, is that you got a lot of content you're trying to fill, and it's just like, I hope they have Shooter in a lot. I follow him on Twitter. I don't know if you follow his
oh
Twitter.
Yeah, he's in Buffalo a lot, man. Because
he's a big Bills guy. Yep. Yeah, he comes every year to the Jim Kelly event. He'll be here in a couple weeks.
He will. Shout out to Stanger, man. I never give Stanger a shout out, and lines me up with a lot of guys. So here's Jamie and I are giving you a shout out right here on Moneyball.
Get the cigars ready for the Kelly event. We'll be ready to smoke.
Get them going. Get them going. So yeah, man. I golf in Western New York is a big deal. Okay, now I guess when you look nationally and you look down south, it's just like anything else, right? Buffalo is more notorious for hockey or winter sports because we can play them all year round. In my opinion, an obvious disadvantage with baseball and things like that. Golf is one of those things I feel like if you really want to be successful at it in Western New York, you can, right? You can be smacking balls every day, all day, whether it's Worley or anywhere else. You now, obviously, the family, you grew up in a golf family.
Yep.
Had you not, do you feel like the passion is solely from that, or do you truly love the game and you feel like either way golf would have found you?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So my brother and sister, so I have an older sister and a younger brother, both play, and I say play golf because they don't really, I mean, they play, but they're not as into it as I am.
Sure.
And I've always asked my mom and dad that, like, why? What was the difference? They said, you just picked up a club and immediately liked it. I'll give you an example. 3 kids, all under 3, but we have little golf clubs. They haven't taken an interest to it yet. My mom and dad said at like 1.5, I just grabbed a club and started swinging it. Okay. And at that time, it wasn't mom and dad forcing you; they just had them there and sitting there. I think it's one of those things that it's either something you really gravitate to, and like I was a hockey player too, so like any type of swing, I was a good baseball player. Like you get into that, obviously it helps that I had my parents, but a perfect example is like I never got a lesson really from my dad or mom till I was probably 13. They both were like, "We just want you to learn. Go ahead and swing away. Maybe a little tip here and there." But then at that stage, it was like an inflection point, and I was pretty good baseball player. And my dad was like, look, you got to decide whether you want to do baseball or golf. He's like, I'm not telling you not to do baseball, but you have a lot more potential in golf, but we got to work on it. So starting about 13 is where I started practicing a lot harder. But, people ask all the time, what was like a catalytic moment for you to like where you started to love it? I was watching the Masters in 95 when Ben Crenshaw won. And my dad was pretty good friends with Ben on tour and knew Harvey Pennick, and that was Harvey Pennick passed away. And he ended up winning on Sunday and dropped to his knees and started to cry. And my mom and dad were like tearing up watching it. And that was like my first like real memory of like, all right, I want to do this. That was really, really cool. But I think it's just like you have kids. So it's like some kids like to do certain things. Other kids like to do other things. Like my parents at that point weren't playing on tour anymore. So like I didn't really see that. Like it was more they taught golf. So I would go to the range with them. They started at Springbrook and then went to the Whirly Dome. Now they're at Paddock Dome. And to your point about the winter, I actually think for us in Buffalo, it can be helpful to, work on your golf swing in the winter. because you don't have the pressure of going out to play.
Sure.
So if you need to make changes in your swing, whereas if you live in the South, like I went to school in Augusta after Ohio State, like you're in the South, you can play every day. So it's actually hard to work on like changes. So if you do it the right way, you can actually potentially become really, really good and have a really good golf swing here. But you got to put the work in, and obviously you got to be able to go do it. And now we're lucky we have a lot of simulator places too, right? So it's not just the domes that you can go to. So and there's a lot more technology now with the golf swing that you can work on things that maybe you didn't know before, like geometric scans and all this stuff. So it can actually be helpful, to live here to work on things in the winter.
I agree with you wholeheartedly with that, as far as the point you made with playing versus, the practicing.
Yep.
And that are,
Yep.
what you said was really interesting. They didn't start working with you until you're 13. Did they have you assigned working with other pros, other golf pros?
No, I've never worked with anybody. I mean, on short game I have, so like chipping and putting, I've worked with some people, but all golf swing has always kind of been my dad. My mom's been there, but it's always been dad. But it's kind of like, I don't know if you
You
know,
were
like
11 or 12.
it was about 13 before I started
That's what I'm
working.
saying. Okay,
Yeah.
so were you even playing though at age 9, 10?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
No,
that
I
was just
started
all
playing.
like self-taught, just playing golf?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they gave you tips. I don't really remember like the
Yeah.
little tips or whatever, but it was really, and if you go one step further, and I know they do this with baseball too, but like Titleist Performance Institute, TPI, is all about like playing a bunch of other sports, developing your
Which I
body,
love.
being able to
I'm a
do,
huge
yep, yep.
advocate.
I am too. And actually that's one thing I can't stand now is like these kids specialize in a sport 8, 9, 10 years old. If they
Insanity.
only play hockey, that's it. I think that's actually really bad for kids, both on a physical and a mental side. But, it was more just like get up, grip it and rip it. Honestly, like it was just go hit it, go find it, figure it out, go play, right? Go play and have fun and learn to love playing golf. And then if you really want to get good, that's where you can hunker down. But as you know, as your body develops and you grow, there's just not like I grew from probably 5'5" to 6 foot from when I was 13 to 14. So my golf swing completely changed. So a lot of the work I would have done
Different
would have had to
clubs,
be
everything.
redone.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally, totally. So, I mean, it was more just the mentality of getting them to really love playing, and then we can refine it from there. But, things like speed, people talk about speed. Now there's a lot of speed training that goes into it. Back then you either had speed or you didn't. There wasn't a lot of the mechanical workouts and things like that, speed sticks, all this stuff. So creating speed came from more like natural ability and learning how to do it. And if you started working with somebody too young, you might take that part away from them and get them a little bit too technical. And that's one thing I see a lot with younger kids that go to a coach. Like my parents teach, obviously, but they have people go once a week, every other week, whatever, and they work on little things. It's not doing overhauls. But if you really get into mechanics, I think it takes away from your ability to just go out and play. So there is this point where you got to get into the mechanics, right? But I think you got to get that natural kind of movement going to be really good.
That's spoken from someone who absolutely knows what they're talking about. And listen, everybody, from all different pros, from tour pros to whoever, can have their different philosophies. But the bottom line is, man, you can see early if someone has a natural talent, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, 100%.
parents want their kids to be this or that. If you see some kid going out, he's a natural hacker. There's
Yep.
no matter how much you try to refine him, he's not going to be a golfer, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you see something early, just a natural ability, even just raw strength, then you can see and refine that stuff. I
yeah,
think golf is tricky also in this area, if you want to call us a blue collar town, because
yep,
people will pigeonhole and they'll label it with the rich kids, and the rich folks will play tennis and golf, the country
yep,
clubs, right?
yep.
That I think has changed. It's amassed over the years, but it still has that element to it. And I kind of always laugh, if you look at Springville or somewhere like that, and or just a more of a farm type town that has their
Yeah,
club, which Springville's got a great course actually.
yeah, I love Springville.
What's your take though on kind of the way that, the vision for golf tennis, right? Like, or it's
Yeah,
almost, or swimming, country club stuff, right? I mean,
yep.
do you think that's changed much over the year? And do you think that's really hurt the game?
Yeah, I think it does. And, the USGA is doing this a lot right now. And there's a new thing coming out where the New York State is actually going to be part of the pilot of the USGA state teams. So each state, right now, there's only going to be about 9, but they're going to obviously grow it, where we are creating a New York State golf team. And that golf team is through the USGA, and the USGA supplements some of that money to us. Each kid gets like what I would call like a $10,000 like sign-on bonus to be
Yeah,
able to use to go
yeah.
spend money on equipment, coaches, all this stuff. But we're also going to raise extra money for those funds through the NYSGA Foundation to be able to supplement even more. But it goes to your point of like kids having the opportunity, right? The opportunity is obviously very expensive. I grew up at Tri-County, which is a semi-private course out in Forestville. I grew up in Silvercreek. I worked there from when I was 14 till I was 22, which, my parents remember, but allowed me to play, practice, all that stuff. And, it's interesting you say that. Like, I grew up and I have still somewhat of a sour feeling towards some of the country clubs in the area because the kids that I played against treated us like crap because we were the poor kids from Tri-County,
No,
but we would beat them. So
yeah.
I was always like, I don't care if I'm poor or not. Like,
But I
it is what
I
it is.
love that you were from where you're from, because this is my point. This is my point.
Yep.
Silvercreek, man, this isn't Transit Valley, right? This is Park Country Club. So, these kids, man, they already had in their heads when you were coming up, like, who are these poor cow tippers, right?
Yeah, literally.
And then you guys would light them up. But yeah, I want to hear more about this. How would you?
Yeah. Well, and the other interesting part in Silvercreek, like kind of down the street from where I live, we had a 3-hole course behind a guy's house, Mr. New. Oh, he's passed away since then. No, he passed away, and actually an attorney bought the house and basically closed it off. But he used it as like a public thing. Like, anybody can come here, hit balls. So I used to go down with a shag bag, walk down the street, or ride my bike. So there are 3 greens, and you could hit from all these angles, right? So I would walk down there, and
he'd let you go play.
As much as you wanted. Anybody in our town could go down there.
That's cool.
And he owned 2 companies called Excelco and Newbrook, and he was just really philanthropic that way and letting people do it. But I used to go do that. So I would just shag balls down there, bring a bag and carry it and walk down there. But that allowed you to go and just, again, back to just go play, right? Just go kind of figure it out, hit some shots. And we had some buddies, some guys that were, locally older guys, but I would go down there with them and they somewhat, hang out with me, mentor me, kind of things. And it was pretty cool. But that kind of allowed you to do those things. Whereas, a kid growing up in Springville that can't join the country club, there's not a lot of access to anything else down there. I'll tell you one thing we're doing at Craigburn, where I'm a member. We basically, about 4 years ago, we looked at locally some kids that were pretty good players that couldn't maybe join otherwise, right? The parents maybe couldn't afford it or whatever. And we gave them a membership. And there were 2 people, and we just had a third. The one kid, I won't say his name, but you can figure out who it is. He won the Northeast Amateur last year. He's ranked in the top 100 in the world right now. Just won the New York State Amateur. And another girl.
He's one of these guys. He's one of the kids from Craigburn.
Yep.
That's
awesome. We basically allowed him to come play and practice, doesn't have to pay. And then there's another girl that actually won the British Amateur last year, made the Curtis Cup team, which is like the Ryder Cup for women amateur golfers, and she's now number 1 on the Epson Tour. We're trying to pay it forward that way a little bit locally, of saying, we are the golf club. We are the club that is all about golf, right? There's not a country club. We don't have tennis. We don't have a pool. Like, golf is it. So our goal with that was every few years to identify a kid that maybe wouldn't be able to join otherwise and give them a membership and be like, dude, we're here to support you. You come here every day, play, practice, like, you're a member. Oak Hill did that with some other younger guys years ago. And that was kind of the model we wanted to copy in Rochester. I felt like Rochester was really, really supportive of their younger players that were good. And obviously Oak Hill being what it is, like, they did it right. So we're trying to be, kind of the same way to Buffalo if we can be.
I think, that model, and yeah, I know Oak Hill, they do a great job with that out there, and they're more noted for it. You hear more about them and Rochester than you do anything in Buffalo. I think single-handedly from that golf club. When I played tennis, it was like, dude, I grew up in a duplex in Hamburg, $500, whatever. Like, we didn't have money. And it was, he plays tennis, you know what I mean? And then your buddies almost, right? When they would be playing everything else, they would look at it like, he plays, it was like frowned upon that you played golf or tennis. And
now, well, back then that was all like right before Tiger too. Like,
it was just before Tiger.
Tiger changed a lot of it. Like, I have buddies that I go to high school with that now text me like, why didn't you ever help me with my golf game back then? I'm like, you thought I was like a wuss by playing golf.
No, exactly.
It was just, it became cooler after that. And now, the one beauty of golf, you can play the rest of your life, right? So, like, tennis, you can play. That's why pickleball's taken off, because anybody can play it till they're, in their 80s, right? And that's the beauty of these games. And I look at it also from the social aspect of, you meet incredible people. And I joke, people are always like, oh, you get to go here, you get to go there, you get to play all these cool places. And I'm like, well, part of it's because I can hit a golf ball, but part of it's because I'm a nice person generally. And I like to hug and kiss people, and I probably throw some people off. But that's like, if you do those things, it does open doors to access things that you wouldn't be able to see and view, and it's pretty cool.
I love your mentality, dude. I live life by withdrawals and deposits, and I'm trying to teach my kids the same exact thing. And everything you're saying falls into that, right? And especially what you guys are doing at Craigburn and everything. Those are all deposits. The withdrawals is when you need to ask for something back,
Yeah.
whether that be for a donation or for this or for that, man. And I've just
Yep.
been kind of living life that way. And
Yeah. 100%.
more people need to. I mean, I can tell just by talking to you for 10, 15 minutes, you're a man's man, you're a cool dude, you're down to earth, and you're humble. I mean, man,
Yeah.
you've had a lot of success, and I do want to just dip into this for a minute, right? Like, obviously, I've read some stories about Ohio State and some scholarships and how things don't always go exactly the way you want them to, and then you went
Yep.
to Augusta. And I think at one point in your life, you kind of had to come to the realization, like, am I going full throttle here? Do I want to play on the tour, or am I going to pull back the reins a little bit, and am I
Yep.
going to change my course? And I think if I read it right, man, it was people pay $3,000 a week or $5,000 a week to play golf, and
Yep.
people think you're getting paid to play golf. Man, it's the other way around, right? You're trying to enter tournaments, keep all this stuff. Tell me a little bit about the mindset there, and is there either regrets, or are we completely comfortable how things went? Like, let me get inside your head a little bit there.
Yeah, so obviously I went to Ohio State for 2 years and then had an issue with scholarship where they took part of a scholarship away to give money to another kid that was coming in. And they knew that if I didn't get more money, my parents weren't going to let me go back, which I thought was interesting because I had the best scoring average of anybody returning. There was one guy at a lower scoring
That's
average.
what I saw.
Yeah. But then I go to the transfer now it's called transfer portal. Back then you actually couldn't transfer inside the Big Ten. I had some other Big Ten schools that wanted me. And,
Oh, okay.
but I went out to like 20 schools, and I got back basically 20 responses like, we'd love to have you come. And then it came down to scholarship, right? How much money I could get. And it was actually really interesting. I was at the US Pub Links and I finished like 5th or 6th in stroke play, and it was early July, and I get an email from the coach at Augusta State. Now, at that point, I'm looking at Vanderbilt and New Mexico, and New Mexico is ranked 3rd or 4th in the country. Vanderbilt was like 10th, and then Augusta was ranked 6th. So get these emails, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Ohio State's ranked 60th, and these schools want me, and they don't want me, right? So get the email from Josh Gregory, who's now actually, like, JJ Spawn, who just won the US Open, he was crediting Josh for helping him with his putting and all this stuff. And Josh was the coach that kept showing him on TV. Coaches Bryson DeChambeau, a bunch of other guys now. But he was like, hey.
Was he at Augusta?
He was at Augusta, yeah. He was my coach there.
Okay.
So he emails me, he's like, you got to come see this. And I'm going to New Mexico next week, and I'm probably going to sign. He's like, don't go, like, come here first. So go there, visit it, loved it. My dad played in 5 Masters. I had a lot of familiarity with the town itself just from that. And Jay Haas's son, Jay Haas Jr., had just graduated. So my dad knew Jay. And so long story short, I went and visited, loved it. Go to New Mexico, like New Mexico as well, but basically got like a 90% scholarship to go to Augusta State, which, basically cost nothing to go. So it was great. But go there, win my first year, have a pretty good, career there. And, the goal was always to make the PGA Tour. So turn pro, go to Q school, get through first stage, miss second stage, and then, all right, what am I going to do? So that was 2008. So September of 2008 happens, the market crashes. I had a group of sponsors lined up. They all back out. So now what? So I go out, basically a bunch of people from Tri-County, a bunch of people I knew from, honestly, the Golf Dome, from hitting balls there for 15 years. I basically, scrounged up 40 grand to be able to go play. 40 grand is not enough to truly play. Right. So I decide to,
which sounds crazy, first of all, right?
Yeah, it's
People
insane.
Don't understand how other sports work, baseball, football, or whatever. If you're good, you get drafted, you go play. That's not golf.
Yeah.
You have to raise money, legit.
Yep.
For an effort to play.
And that's a perfect example. Like, if there was a draft, I might have been drafted, late first round or early second round versus this. Like, all right, go figure it out. Now, the tour, everything's changed since then, right? Now they have PGA Tour University, have the PGA Tour Americas, where you can get your card through that to go to Corn Ferry, and then Corn Ferry to that. Like, that didn't exist back then. So it was literally like mini tours. And you play PGA Tour Canada, which back then was just the Canadian Tour. It didn't have a co-sanctioned thing. And you're like, what am I going to do? So I raised the 40 grand, made my first few cuts on the mini tours. So you basically broke even on expenses, right? To your point, about 3 grand. Did that, got the card on the Canadian Tour. And then in July, in July of 2010, I lost in a playoff at the New York State Open, which was cool. I birdied the last hole, getting a playoff. And then the next summer, I get in a bad boating accident where I basically broke my whole face. I broke my jaw in 3 spots, broke my nose, knocked my front 4 teeth out, and broke my orbital bones 10 different ways. So at that point, I just turned 26. I was like, all right, my parents, my dad played in the PGA Tour till he was 37 or 8. back then there wasn't the money. You made 255 cuts and made $428,000. Now, if you made 255 cuts, you make $30 million.
Yeah, that might be one.
So,
that might be one tournament now, right?
Yeah. So literally, I think now if you finish fifth, you make 400 grand.
Yeah.
And then my mom had played for a few years, and got pregnant with my sister, stopped playing. So they taught golf, and I always looked at it. The beauty again with playing golf, you meet a lot of people, right? And you meet a lot of wealthier people, and you see what they do and the careers that they've had. And so I'm 26, sitting in a hospital bed. There's no question.
I mean,
and
that's silly, but go ahead.
And I'll give my mom a compliment on that. It was funny. She, or one thing about that whole incident for me, she's like, you never felt bad about yourself, or you never felt down on yourself. Because I think you either have that mentality, you're a fighter or not, right? So at that point, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know that I want to be 32, still chasing the dream. I had been trying it for a while. I kind of ran out of money. I didn't really like asking for money. Anyway, through that process, I actually went to work for my good buddy Billy Haynes' dad, cleaning shelves at his business. I basically then decided in December of 11, I signed on to go work at Morgan Stanley, which interestingly enough, that career is, if you don't make a cut, you don't make any money, right? You have to build a book of business. It was very similar to golf in that sense that I had to go out, get business. And if you're not making the cut, you don't make any money, and you build it yourself.
It's a very good job though for someone with a competitive nature. Call it whatever, your faith or fate. But when you're laying in that hospital bed, Jamie, like people don't understand, man, when you're the level of golfer that you are, okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you the photo, by the way.
Please do, because I'll throw it up on the thing. Like when you're the level of golfer you are, your whole life is flashing in front of you. You have moments of like, why am I even here? I'm sure you had those why me God moments. Now I know you didn't do too much, right? And your mom said you were strong and didn't, but everybody questions it, right? They say, hey man, the why me, why this? My path was coming here. But then you can look back and say, holy, look who I am. Look where I came from. Look who my parents are. I'm only 26 or 28, man. Look what I can still do and look what I can bring to the world. So at that point, that was your fork in the road, dude, and you made an amazing decision. So kudos to you there. And now just being a name that's synonymous with golf and very successful in the area, and people love to be around you, dude. They want to go play around with Jamie, and that's the kind of guy when you were a kid. Yeah. That's who you wanted to be, right? Like, think about that. And you wanted to go, your dad's hanging out with Watson or whoever else. And you're like, I want to go just hang around with those people. Yeah. And that's what you've made yourself. So congratulations, man.
Yeah, and it's interesting on that too. Like when that all happened and you dive into it, I'll give a shout out to Andrew Hickey from the NYSGA. Like I reached out to him in maybe 2013. I'm like, I want to get involved. Like my thing and my dad was like, look, you could always be a great, amateur golfer. And some of his best friends, Vinny Giles, Danny Yates, Dick Sidoroff, were all guys that didn't turn pro and stayed in the amateur game and did great things. And that was like where I changed my mindset, right? Is like, all right, the dream of playing the tour is going to be gone for now, but I have other dreams, aspirations. What can I give back to golf? Because again, golf gave so much to us, right? And it's like, what can you do to kind of give back to that? And so that's why I wanted to get involved. And I started at the Buffalo District Golf Association, now at the NYSGA, and I'm on a bunch of other boards too. But, it's like golf is a game that teaches you a lot, right? Teaches you about life, teaches about, adversity, like how to get over things, how to come back. One thing I'll say, like if you watch the British Open, Scotty Scheffler made a first double of the week, final round on 6 or 7, comes back, birdies the next 2 holes. And I think he's been number 1 or 2 in bounce back stats. And like, if you have that ability to bounce back, like you can get over anything in life. I don't know, back to like faith and stuff. Scotty's obviously a very religious guy. Like if he just hunkers down and believes it, but that's a big delta of why guys win. That's why Tiger won so much. Like Tiger, when he made a mistake, he got it right back.
And listen, man, you have your twins and you have your 1-year-old, and as the kids get older, you'll start to see, and I see this, my 11-year-old's a little ball player, man. But he gets frustrated. And I see, and it turns his whole game around when you see the hat thrown in the dirt. Everybody's watching you, If you're a good player and you're a leader, everybody's watching. Everybody's watching
for sure.
You're like, and I tell them all the time, I say, Deacon, it's not about how good you are at the game, man. Everybody's watching everything else. They can see in 2 pitches how you play.
Yep.
We're watching everything else. Are you a leader? What type of person are you, right? And so it's so important, man, to key on that stuff. And I'm really glad. I can tell you're emotional about it. My favorite interviews are the ones, where I don't ask the same questions as everybody else, where maybe there's a chord struck or whatever, man. And you're a humble dude, like I said, but and I can tell how passionate, number one, you are about the game. But I think I maybe just struck a bit like, wow, man, yeah, this is right. You don't sit there every day. You don't sit back and think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of what you've accomplished and where you're at, dude.
Yeah, and the funny part, I was just talking to like a younger kid the other day, and I had a kid caddying for me at the state am. He's 15, and I said, look around. Like you see me yelling at guys across from the holes. I go, these are guys that I've been friends with since I was 10, 11 years old, and these are my closest friends, right? Because we're all very comparable, and we joke we're like pirates. We're going from port to port looking for treasure. Like that's part of what golf is. But I go, this is kind of your community, right? Like this is
Yeah.
what you do, and like you all like for me at least was because it gave me so much is like how do I give back and get more kids to want to do it, right? To see how good it can be, and that's kind of the fun part of all of it, right?
We'll go with the wings or flats question, man. You a wing or a flat guy?
I'm a wing guy. My wife's a
Drummer,
flats person,
drummer.
so
Say drums.
I'm a drum guy. My wife's a flats person, so it works out beautifully.
Well, I'm going to give you the air. We'll give you the jail pound here. Drums all day. I don't even know
Yeah,
how it's comparable. All the work you need to
I
do.
don't either. People are like they like. I don't understand
It's so much
why.
more. There's veins in there. There's things
Yeah,
quite around.
I
With
don't get
drum,
it.
you just boom. You can just and it's pretty obvious to me, man. Shout out
But
to
that's why
Elmo.
some guys like blondes and some like brunettes. I'm a
Well, yeah,
brunette guy,
that's
so it
true.
is
But
what it is, right?
there's no veins in the.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Um, listen, I had the
Very good
taskers
wings.
on. I had the taskers on.
Yeah,
I keep hearing about Rosie's. Is it everything it's cracked up to be here?
it's very good. It's very good. The only thing I'll say, and I love Deke and Luke too. It's a little rich for me. You got to be careful what you get, but
Okay, it's real
people love
sweet.
it. We go there a bit. It's actually like I think it's all homemade, so it's like really like
Yeah,
good. Oh,
yeah, yeah.
sorry for the link,
No, no, that's
it's very very good. I like to just keep it simple with like vanilla. If I got some flavor, and I was like, oh, that's a lot.
I'm kind of a snob now with the custard, man. I'll go and
Yeah.
this is a true story. I'll call. I'm almost embarrassed to say it. I'll call down the road to Charleps to see what their
Oh
custard
yeah.
instead of driving down.
Well, that's smart.
And then I'll call two scoops, right? Because I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not going to go wait. I'm not going to drive a mile down the road
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
raspberry that week, dude. I mean, come on, I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
pistachio.
No, that's ridiculous. Oh, I love pistachio.
The pistachio custard
Love
got me on another. I mean,
so good.
right?
So
And
good.
it's that's definitely the weakness. That's definitely the
Yeah.
weakness, man. I was going to ask you the family dynamic. I definitely want to touch on it with the parents and obviously all the success they've had, and some of the celebrities I guess you've had the chance to encounter or be with. Is there any one real good story that you have about meeting someone, or some funny story or something you might have?
Well, you mentioned the name Watson earlier. So interesting. I was caddying. My dad only played a few Champions Tour events, but he gets into the tournament that's it was in Indianapolis at the Brickyard. So like there's like 3 or 4 holes inside the Indianapolis 500. And my dad and Tom qualified for the PGA Tour the same year, 1971 PGA Tour qualifying school. It's actually still considered like one of the best classes to ever graduate. They
That's
have,
really cool.
I
Yeah.
mean, like 20 majors, one between everybody, and a bunch of tour events. But Tom had just turned 50. So we're at the Brickyard, and, I'm with my dad, and I want to hit balls. So my dad's like, all right, let's go to the back of the range. And that week he got, I don't know if people might remember these clubs, but they were called Orlamar. Great 3-wood, great high, basically these lofted woods. So they're great. So we go to the back of the range to hit balls. And sure enough, Tom pulls up, and it's just me, my dad, and Tom Watson. And they give each other a hug. They're great to see you. What back? And I don't think they had seen each other for a long time. My dad did not stay super connected to the tour guys after he stopped playing. He quit in 1986.
Now,
Anyway,
was that on purpose, Jamie? Did he kind of separate himself?
yeah, he. I was born in '85, and I mean, he's never really said this to me, but I kind of know. I had pneumonia when I was born, so I was in an incubator for a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think that plus being away all the time, and I had a sister, and then my brother came a year later. I think he just kind of got tired of the grind. And again, there wasn't the money there is today. So
Right.
if the money was what it was today, I bet he might have kept playing. But it was one of those things. He won in 1974, 86. He hadn't won. He played really well in like 82, 83. And I think you just kind of get tired. And you see it now. There's a lot of guys that get tired. So he just kind of I think it just kind of ran its course at that point, and
Yeah.
there just
Okay.
wasn't the money that there is today. So I think it changed his mindset. So we're on the back of the range, and Tom Watson comes out, and I'm hitting balls with him and hanging out with him. He's telling stories about him and my dad back in the day, and amateur golf and all these things. And that was kind of like that was really the first foray. I mean, I had met Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, but I was really young. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, so I didn't know. So at that point, I think I was 13, caddying for my dad, and it was just really cool to see him. Again, growing up in Silvercreek, being here, I never got to see that side. I
Right.
heard about it a lot
Right.
because I
Right.
asked my dad a ton of questions, and I probably annoyed him with some of the questions because he and I would travel to golf tournaments, so we would always drive no matter where it was. If it was in Florida, we would drive.
That's so
So
cool.
I would ask him tons of questions, but that was the first time of like seeing it with like a legend of golf to be with my dad, and this guy treated my dad like a brother almost. It was like
That had to be
really
and
cool.
to see that. and to see how well respected your dad was.
Yeah,
That
100%.
had to be a paramount day for you. Like think,
Yeah,
because like you had said, he's just dad to you,
yeah,
and your dad did a really good job. Shout out to your dad now of keeping the two separate because
yeah,
you can fall into that trap regardless of the money. There's
yeah,
another guy I was at Eden the other day. It's where my boys play, and I'm sitting down, and the wife goes, "Hey, you do interviews?" I said, "Yeah," and she said, "Oh, my husband here played." And she's kind of giving me his resume. Hey, what's up, buddy? And he said, "Yeah, I made $18,000 in my career." And
yeah,
like
yeah,
first he said, the dude's all bitter and stuff, and I'm
yeah.
like, "Sorry, man. It was the '70s. He was like a relief."
Right,
But
right.
that did a phenomenal job of keeping the two separate, keeping you as his son and not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then as it came up, man, for you to ask Watson and see the respect that he's given your old man,
yeah.
that's pretty cool. That had to be a
It
legendary thing.
was it was really cool, and to just be around that, it was really cool to like just kind of see, and just be exposed to it. And then obviously I got exposed to it through my mom. She went out and played the what's now called the Legends Tour, which is like the Champions Tour for women. Got to see, Nancy Lopez, Jan Stevenson, Kathy Whitworth, who
Yeah,
still
I
has
know
the
those
record for
names. I
most
know those
wins,
names.
right? And good friend of my mom's. And like that's when you start to realize, like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, they live in Silvercreek and Buffalo. People in Buffalo don't realize it, but they
Exactly.
are a big deal outside of here. So
Yeah, no,
pretty
this
cool.
this was amazing, man. This was a lot of fun. You come as advertised, man. I'm really
Yeah,
happy we got to link up. Thanks a lot, man.
that's great. Thank you.
Have a
See you,
great
bud.
day. All right.
All right, you too. Bye.